Hey there. I wanted to share a story about having someone snap you out of something. And what happened was about a year ago, I was on the London Underground and it was quite busy, not chocker, but lots of people standing. And I was stood by one of the doors. You know how you kind of crunch in. And there was a family just in front of me holding onto the poles, a mum, a dad and a little girl, maybe about 10 or 12. And I remember we stopped at a station and this chap came on looking a bit bedraggled, and he had one of those knitted hats that does with the long things here, and he had a bit of a beard, and he was holding a polystyrene cup and he was going down the carriage asking for change, asking for some money. And I remember just watching everyone just go, you know, look away, say, no, sorry, mate, or whatever. There was this general avoidance. And as he walked down the carriage, this little girl was looking at people, and then she looked at her mum and dad, and they just sort of did the whole looking away. And then she looked at the man and looked back at her mum and dad, and they just kind of, I don't know, they kind of just brushed it away sort of thing. And I saw this little girl, her eyes just welled up. She just, you know, that when you just feel, oh, that's not right. And I could see these tears in her eyes, and her mum gave her a cuddle, and in that instant, I had this snapping out of it moment where I thought, oh my God, it's so wrong that a person is walking around having to beg for money, that we're in this situation where it's normal for a whole carriage of people to just ignore a person in need. Okay, so that was a very poignant moment for me. And I am sharing it because I was one of those people who was just looking away, doing that thing, and I'm being very vulnerable about my flaws here. So sometimes something like that happens that snaps you out of it, and you go, oh my God, this situation is wrong. And this has obviously happened throughout history, you know, when there was slavery or injustices in gender, you know, women not being able to vote. There have been countless instances where there is the status quo and everyone is just accepting this is how it is. Okay, women don't vote, and you know, if you're a certain colour skin, you can't go there. There have been many situations like this, but at some point somebody snaps out of that status quo and thinks, this isn't right, this is not right, okay? And thankfully for those people did that thing, and then it created a movement, and then we see this positive change. And I wanted to share that this year I've had 3 moments where I have been snapped out, not specific moments, but just this year. It's been an incredible gift for snapping out of things. And it's been over 3 different groups. So the first one has been politicians, okay? Now, I would always expect that there was some self-serving in politicians. You know, it's part of they have a lot of power and responsibility, but, you know, there's always been that kind of knowing that there's an old boys club and a little bit of, you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But this year, we have seen such blatant helping of friends, passing deals and massive contracts to people in that club. A waste of money. You know, it has been unbelievable. The lies, blatant lies. You know, Matt Hancock talking about, oh, there's been a vitamin D test trial done and there hasn't. There have been so many lies. You follow those rules, we're not going to. Absolutely brazen. And for me, that was okay, that's woken me up from that that sort of stupor of, oh, this is the status quo. It's really given me a slap across the face. The second one was to do with vaccines. So I have two gorgeous boys who I had all their jabs. You know, when I got my little red book when they were babies and it said, go and have your MMR, this, that, the other jab, I just took them along, did not question it at all. That was normal. All my friends did that. That was the status quo. I did not even look into it. And now, because of the mention of the COVID vaccine way back, I watched a couple of videos on London Real, Brian Rose interviews, and one of them was Robert Kennedy Jr. And wow, it just, again, snapped me out of it. I have allowed someone to put something in my children's, into their bodies, you know, that I didn't even ask about. I did not question it. I didn't even look into it or anything. I was just in that, this is normal, this is the status quo. Can you see the similarities to all the things that have happened over history, where you can just be in this state of, this is how it is. You don't question it. So that's the second one. Now, I would never, ever allow a vaccine that's not been thoroughly tested and that I know all the ingredients and all the rest of it, you know, and I can't understand how I just allowed that to happen, but I did, okay? This is me sharing that, and if you were in that position, then please don't judge yourself, because there are many, many of us who are in that position where we're following the status quo, as there have been throughout ages. And the third snapping out of it that I've had this year is with journalism, because again, I held the BBC in such high esteem. For me, that was the golden standard of journalism. They were professional and they showed both sides without bias. And then this year again has been this incredible reveal where I've heard people saying, oh, they're not reporting the news, they're being biased. And then I could see it. And then I dug a bit deeper, and that whole business with the Twin Towers, where the third tower, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a third tower that the Solomon Brothers building. The woman reporter is talking about how the Solomon building collapsed, okay? And the guy at the news desk is asking her about it, and she was going, oh yes, structural failure, it collapsed, da-da-da-da. They are reporting it 20 minutes before it actually collapsed. I mean, it's just there. When the smoke disappears, the building is still there behind her. I hadn't seen that footage before. And again, this year has just snapped me out of it. And now, once I've seen it, I am seeing the bias, the lack of reporting on the voting fraud, the over-egging of all the cases and not reporting the drop in the number of deaths. It has been phenomenal, and it's as blatant and brazen as the politicians lying. And I just wanted to say, if you're like me and you have been following the status quo and it's been completely normal and we've just been doing this, now is our gift. This year is a gift to just snap out of it, and see, really take that step back, and like that little girl on the tube, look at the situation for what it is, and if it doesn't feel right, then start asking questions, start digging, and change your point of view. It's okay to change your point of view. I've had so many U-turns this year, I cannot even believe it. Anyway, I wanted to share that story with you. I hope this helps and resonates with some people, and have a lovely weekend. All right, lots of love.